Okay, so I'm starting a new project, Metroidvania, again with the same 2.5D style that a lot of my projects seem to follow. Um, for this, I started by creating this PowerPoint that you see right now, outlining control schemes, basic movesets, how magic will work, that sort of thing. And then I went into Unreal, set up the project, imported some assets, and I'll show you those in a minute. But first off, I've just called it Metroidvania Project for now because I don't have a good name for it, and it's just going to be a showcase for now. So, control scheme for controller and keyboard mouse. I have two different control schemes that I could do here. So we want the left stick for movement as well as the D-pad. I forgot to put that in there. The left bumper for white magic swapping and the left trigger for white magic using, and the right bumper and right trigger respectively for black magic swapping and using. Press the Y for backdash, X for attack. I don't know if I'm going to implement that or if I'm going to just focus on magic skills for now. Um, you've got B to interact and A to jump. The keyboard mouse, it was a little bit awkward to try and figure out how it's going to work with the fact that I've got two different types of magic on two different controls. So WASD for movement, as usual. Left shift and left control for white magic using and swapping. Q for backdash. Left click would be for attack, but again, focusing on skills here, not the attacking aspect for now. Space to jump. E to interact. Z and C for black magic use and black magic swap. So the basic moveset, by default, a player will be able to jump, attack, and interact. Again, attacking is a bit of a gray area. I don't know if I'm going to implement that just yet. The player will then learn two additional moves by interacting with movement skill statues. They will learn double jump and the backdash. And you can see what buttons they're going to use. The magic system rules. So magic obtained from collecting magic skill orbs. I might switch that out for statues as well. When they're interacted with, magic will come in two different flavors: black magic for offensive spells and white magic for utility spells. Once learned, players can swap out with another like-colored magic they'd like to assign. All magic will consume mana. So the two different white magic spells that I've come up with is a Lens of Truth, revealing secret passages, platforms, that sort of thing to the player, and Mist. So you can transform into a mist to pass through gates or float above hazards, much like Castlevania Symphony of the Night. The rules of these, so left trigger or left shift to activate or deactivate, remains active for a set amount of time and auto deactivates when the spell's time is up. Requires a cooldown after being used that will be shown on the HUD. Left bumper or left control pauses the game, allowing the user to slot in a different white magic spell, and it cannot be swapped out while on cooldown. Then we go on to the black magic. So we've got Fireball, which shoots a ball of fire in a straight line, low damage, low mana cost. Then you've got Electro Spark, which is an area of attack, and it will have streams of electricity arcing out from the caster to whatever enemy is around. It'll be high damage, high mana cost. Black magic rules, very simple. It will require a very short, non-visible cooldown between uses. And just as a magic swapping thing again, so you've got the left, right bumper, left control, and C used to swap magic. Hold them to pause the game and bring up white or black magic selection options. Push direction on the left stick or WSD to slot magic. Release to select the magic and unpause the game. It functions very similarly to swapping up weapons in Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. That's all I've got in the PowerPoint. So if we hop into the Unreal Engine, um, I'm going to be using the Countess Paragon as my character. So this right here as my character, as it fits the Metroidvania style. I also imported Infinity Blade effects, Firelands, Grasslands, Icelands, as well as Soulcade and Soul City. These will be used in different ways. So in the effects, the different effects, we've got embers, and that could be very useful. Um, got abilities, so like summons and stuff like that. I don't know how much of this I'm going to implement just yet. I could end up implementing all of it. I could implement just a little bit for now and keep building on this over time. But the first thing I had to do was I set it so that this was on the x-axis instead of the y. I did this in the project settings. So if we open these up right here, and we go down to the editor here, 2D, so we can, in here, enable snap layers. Obviously you want that, it's a side scroller. The snap axis, instead of being X, it's now Y. So everything will now snap onto the Y axis, so this way, instead of this way. So a default project for side scroller, it loads in and it has things facing this direction. So things will be snapping on the X instead of snapping on the Y. I just prefer it snapping on the Y. It's something I haven't mentioned in my previous projects, but I've always done. So also we've got the foreground, background, and default. So if we were to go over back into here, right here you've got default, foreground, background. So if I wanted something to be in the background, it would snap onto the Y of 900. So if we just go in here, get a cube, it's currently on default, so it will snap to the Y0. I can still move it around, but it will snap to Y0. If I was to set this to the background, it will snap to, that's the foreground, not the background. I got those mixed up. I'll have to rename these. And then we set it to foreground, and I don't know what it's doing now. Excuse me. If we drag this in here, you can see it's further out than this. So I wanted to set this to minus 900, not, there we go, not 900. So if we then make this background again, and drag in a cube, you can see it's settling down here. There's still some fidgeting to do with it, but you can see it fits right here. So if I set this to minus 450, that is a perfect background right there. So if we set this to minus 450 and we drag in another cube, you can see it's snapped to minus 450 on this back wall. I also just set up this long base and wall. So if I jump in, you can see it's just the character like so. So first things I have to do was, because I'm using the Countess from Paragon, I had to retarget animations to this. Now it was a little bit annoying because, as you can see here, this this A pose is a little bit wider than this A pose. So what I had to do was grab the upper arms of each and bring them out a little by 10 degrees. I had to do the same on the lower arm and hand, just slacking it out by 10 degrees. And it was as simple as that. Then what I had to do, so if we go to the retarget manager, I had to select rig humanoid, because if we go here, the only one is the Paragon Proto retarget. I didn't want to risk that, so I just went with the humanoid rig and auto map, because none of these are capitalized. It's quite annoying. But if you auto map it, then capitalizes the ones in here. And if you click modify pose, it will come up with a thing here. So use current pose. So after I had imported and changed the rotations, I just pressed use current pose here, and that allowed all of the, let me just close this off and go to the blueprints, actors, character. So we've got this here, and we go to animations. Everything was then retargeted to be the Countess, and it was pretty much as simple as that. I thought it was going to be a lot more finicky, but it wasn't. Then I just dragged these, which were in the mannequin folder. I dragged them into the Metroidvania animations folder, and in the idle run, I changed them a little bit. So we got one of the idle animations here from the Paragon thing. So I could change it to any of the idle animations I want. Currently, there's a little bit of a mishap with the holding of the sword, but I will get that sorted. So if we go and put this back to relaxed, or did I put it to straight? I cannot remember. There we go. And then we save that. That's now the idle run. We also set this one right here is just the third person walk, because it's just a transition to get to this one right here, which is the jog forward, also within the Paragon Countess imported assets. Now I could have any, so within the ability, when she's using an ability, she's got this run. She's also got just casting different abilities. And I might end up using those later down the path when I actually implement all of the abilities that we're gonna have. But for now, I've just stuck it at jog forward. And within the anim graph state machine, because it's just the third person one, I just had to change some of these, not this one, this one. So I changed this from what it was, which was actually counting on the actual, like, specific animation. I just put relevant animation time, so whatever animation is in here will play that instead of trying to find that specific animation time. And if it's less than 3, then it can enter the transition to the jump loop, which is just the third person jump loop, which is just this. Which for some reason she's actually holding the sword properly. And the jump end being the jump recovery right here. So that's all I've done for now, actually. Apart from character movement, I changed a couple of things in here, just so it was a little more fluid and didn't feel like she was on ice and she was turning on a dime instead of just slowly turning. To make her turn on a dime like at will, like instantly. So if I click here, if I do this and then press A, she's instantly turning. All you have to do is set this number right here to anything negative and it will instantly turn. I found that out just by reading. If change rotation speed per second when so and so are true, set a negative value for infinite rotation rate and instant turns. So I also set a couple of things up here. So the ground friction to 10. This is basically if you wanted to simulate you walking on ice, set it to 0 or something. So if I was to show you that real quick, if I let go of D, or if I press D while she's turning, you can see she kind of slides. That's just like you're on ice. If you wanted to do like an ice skating thing, sure, go ahead, do that. But for me, I'm just going to leave it at 10. That's a nice friction for me, because it's pretty much instant snapping then. I also set the max walk speed to 700. That was pretty much everything I did. I also made sure that down here in the planar movement, I made sure that it was snapping on the Y. So what that does is it allows the player to go along the x-axis and the z-axis, but they're not allowed to move in the y-axis more than 1 meter. So if I like try to move over there, I can't. Pressing W just makes me jump. So it's just A and D, so it's all left-right movement and up and down. Apart from that, that's all I've done currently. I'll be working on making sure the player can do multiple things. Next, I'll be making sure the character's jump is all set up properly and the landing, and then I'll get on to adding the HUD in. That's when I'll next make the update video once the HUD is done. And yeah, thank you for watching.